Hello, everyone. Trading has closed on March 24th, 2022. We always start with our disclaimer, go over yesterday's calls, and then make some predictions. Going to spend a little more time on this disclaimer. It's my trading plan for tomorrow, and I can be completely wrong, so all trades should be at your own risk. MEJT is an intraday system. I use that system and a 32 calendar day cycle for making intraday predictions, and I find them to be highly accurate. I use other indicators for predicting longer-term moves, and while they're good, they aren't as good as the systems I use for predicting intraday action. And as far as predicting what happens overnight, I don't have a system that's sufficiently accurate for me to risk any money on it, and that's why I don't tend to hold stuff overnight. And if we have a move overnight, a big gap in the undesired direction, my analysis is canceled before the open. Calls kill. Now, I have some new subscribers, and I'll point out to them that I make plenty of calls, which are canceled before the open. But a cancel call doesn't cost me any money. I make very, very few wrong calls. It's only the wrong calls that cost me money. I don't care if a call's canceled, I'll just change my plan. If I don't have any money on it and it's canceled, so what? There are plenty of big moves overnight, I just don't have a sufficiently accurate system for predicting them. But I can make enough money during the day, so I don't care if I miss moves overnight. Just remember, if a call is canceled, it doesn't cost money. Only if it's wrong does it cost you money. All right, let's look at today's action. We have what you could call a wall into the close, a straight line drop with straight line drop, no pullbacks. We gapped up. This can be called a wall with gap. It's an unstable pattern. Usually it fills. Typically it'll fill by tomorrow or by Monday's open at the latest. And then you find support under this low. It doesn't have to fill that quickly. It just happens often. And if it doesn't fill that quickly, even though it should fill at some point, there's no time limit. There's a few things suspicious about this move here. So rally to, but not through, this old high. If we continue over this, we're overcoming resistance. If we drop right from here, it's a double top. It's going to be hard for us to keep going up in a straight line because this move is a Fibonacci target, an extended Fibonacci target of the prior consolidation. That's 38.2, there's 100 right here, and that's resistance. You also have a three-wave structure here, so this isn't an impulse, and you have an overlap with this high and this low. So you can call this an ABC with wave C equal to wave A exactly. It's not the only way to count it, but it's not an impulse going higher. It's an overlapping three-wave structure which has challenged the old high, and it's at Fibonacci resistance from a prior consolidation, leaving a wall with gap behind. So if we're going to continue higher, you really want to continue higher right away by gapping up. This is a pattern which is normally negative. When it's positive instead, it should lead to higher prices unless we gap down smartly. So my suspicion is we're going to gap one way or the other at tomorrow's open, because when you rally to resistance, either you gap over it or resistance wins, and the only way we're going to fill this thing tomorrow, I think, is if we gap down smartly and vitiate this rally. During the day, MEJT said this rally was false, would retrace to under this line, call the low within a few pennies. This is Tom DeMark's TDST line, 45.2633. It's pretty close to where our high was. There is resistance at and 1 bar past the line. Now this is resistance in terms of time. As I said yesterday, a number of other people's systems have us in a time window for a top right about here. Time isn't really my thing. My stuff is based more on price. And don't forget, resistance extends to and 1 bar through this line. So you could have a huge rally tomorrow, and if we stopped there and didn't overtake the high of that rally, it wouldn't change anything. But in terms of time, it's calling for resistance somewhere in this area. Well, this is the bullish pattern that says we keep going up. This would be a consolidation in wave 3, and the rally continues. This is the count with A, B, and C equal to A that says we stop right here. So you're at resistance and you either want to gap over it, because if you don't, and if you gap down instead, it's a great situation for a top. And I'm not much of a person to make a guess. I'll wait for tomorrow's open to see what happens. Don't forget, we use the 32 calendar day pattern. We call this over the weekend. We said even today's pattern was normally negative. It could be a rally day. And if you go back every 32 calendar days, you'll see how often that happens, even though it's a pattern with the early high. Friday's pattern has the early high. We could still gap down. Today's normally bearish pattern was bullish instead. It should lead to higher prices tomorrow, but if we gap down smartly, it kills the pattern. You can't rule out gapping down smartly. We're in a time window for a top. The high of day is a fib target of the prior consolidation. The rally counts as a 3-wave structure and should retrace it sometime. If we gap down here, it's a double top. Today's pattern can be read as a wall with gap. These gaps do fill most often, but not always, within a day or so. It's close enough to having mixed signals that I suspect, if the rally continues, we'll gap up, and if the rally stops here, we'll gap down. We're approaching resistance from Tom DeMark's TDST line on the daily chart, at up resistance in terms of time rather than price, so a significant advance limited to a day or two wouldn't violate that resistance. If you come right up to resistance, we could easily just break through, but this is strong resistance, and if it holds, which I don't know, but if it holds, we should gap down and the target's undercut yesterday's low. So we'll see how we open. It's a pattern with the early high. Doesn't mean you won't gap down, and that's today's call.